Okay, let's dive right into this. From a very young age, we are basically trained to trust what people say. We treat words as the primary currency in our relationships. But the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, well, he warned us against doing exactly that. He argued that human words are actually a deeply deceptive currency, and they aren't born from truth, but from survival, ego, and fear. So, in this explainer, we're decoding the human mask by breaking down the first 6 of Nietzsche's profound psychological truths.
So, are you being fooled by words? It's a pretty confronting thought, isn't it? But the reality is that people rarely speak pure truth. Most people out there are essentially actors in a play that they didn't even write. Their smiles, their loud opinions, even their tone of voice, these are all shaped by what has historically kept them safe. The surface of someone's personality is almost never their true self. It's literally just their armor.
To uncover the real truth, we need a roadmap. Think of this kind of like an iceberg. We'll start with the armor we wear, move down into projection as a hidden mirror, the volume of silence, virtue as disguised vanity, lies and illusions of superiority, and finally, the compassion behind the mask.
All right, Section 1, the armor we wear.
When you look at the personas people present to the world, you have to realize that you aren't necessarily looking at who they actually are. You're usually looking at who they need to be to survive in society. We call this the mask. It's a constructed version of the self, totally created to gain acceptance. This is Nietzsche's first psychological truth. Absolutely everyone wears a mask to survive. And here is the real secret. They aren't doing it because they're fake or malicious or actively trying to trick you. They're doing it because they're scared. In fact, most people aren't even intentionally hiding from you. They are hiding from themselves.
I absolutely love this quote. Every profound spirit needs a mask. You see, Nietzsche didn't mean that as an insult. He meant it as a vital warning. He's telling us right here not to confuse the mask with the actual person. Because masks aren't perfect, they slip. To find the real person, we shouldn't be looking at their perfectly rehearsed words. We have to look for the tension. That sudden flash of discomfort, or the exact moment they look away, because that is exactly where the real person begins.
Moving on to Section 2, projection, the hidden mirror.
And this brilliantly illustrates one of Nietzsche's absolute sharpest insights about how we judge other people. His second truth is that what someone hates in others reveals exactly what they're hiding in themselves. On the surface, you might see someone constantly mocking arrogance, or maybe obsessively pointing out dishonesty in everybody else. But hidden underneath that, well, the person mocking arrogance is very often deeply insecure about their own self-worth. And the one always pointing out dishonesty is usually hiding a truth that they just haven't faced themselves. What someone fiercely hates in others is a direct projection of the exact insecurities they're terrified to admit.
Which brings us to Section 3, the volume of silence. Nietzsche had this fascinating perspective on language. He really didn't believe truth came from talking. Actually, he saw language as a tool of the herd, often used to actively avoid reality. So we have to look for the cracks in the mask. When words fail, I'm talking about things like dodging certain topics, pausing just a little too long before answering a deep question, giving a short, clearly rehearsed reply, or, and we've all seen this, that awkward, nervous laugh that completely mismatches the gravity of the conversation. Nietzsche's third truth is that a person's silence and their active avoidance of being vulnerable screams so much louder than their actual speech.
Next up, Section 4, virtue as disguised vanity.
Now, this is a highly counterintuitive idea, but the louder the virtue signal, the more likely it is that something is being hidden. You really need to be incredibly wary of the person who loudly proclaims their purity, who's always correcting others, or just constantly preaching. Nietzsche called this the will to power in disguise. It's morality literally being used as a mask for superiority. Because real, genuine goodness, it doesn't demand an audience or applause. So when the virtue signaling is absolutely deafening, you have to stop and ask yourself, what exactly are they trying to cover up?
Let's dive into Section 5, lies and illusions of superiority.
We've reached the deepest core of our psychological iceberg here, and honestly, this changes everything about how you view deception. People don't lie to you first, they actually lie to themselves first. It goes like this. Step 1, they encounter a painful reality. Step 2, they rehearse a defensive lie. Like repeatedly telling themselves, I'm fine, I'm completely over it. And then step 3, they do it so often, they actually start to believe the lie just to keep functioning in a painful world. This isn't some evil deception directed at you, it's really just a desperate defense mechanism.
So the crucial point is that superiority is almost always an overcompensation.
When someone is constantly reminding you of their accomplishments, what they actually fear is feeling like they just aren't enough. When they casually put others down, they are terrified of being completely overlooked. And when they have this overwhelming need to dominate and control every single situation, they're hiding a really deep fear of being powerless. Loud, overcompensating superiority is merely a costume worn by a scared, inferior child. Because true confidence doesn't need to compete, it just is.
And finally, Section 6. Compassion behind the mask.
So now that we've decoded all these behaviors, why does this all matter? Well, the goal here is absolutely not gaining leverage or power or just sitting in cynical judgment over everyone else. Decoding a person's nervous laugh or realizing that their obsessive posting about how happy they are might actually be a cry for help, that's not a parlor trick. Nietzsche didn't want you to see through others so you could control them. He wanted you to see through them so you could stop being fooled and actually start connecting. It's a tool for grace. Because when you finally see that scared child hiding behind the mask, you are far less likely to hate them. You don't become weaker by seeing this, you become unshakable.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly provocative question. If everything we judge in others is something we carry ourselves, what are your own judgments revealing about the mask you wear? I really want you to just sit with that thought for a bit. We've only scratched the surface of Nietzsche's psychological truths in this explainer, but if you start applying this lens, both to others and to yourself, it completely changes the way you see the world. Thank you so much.
Okay,